So to any ally, Canada, Britain, Germany, France, if you try to help the ICC, we're going to sanction you.
Well, that means I want every ally, and you saw little Justin in Canada and
right.
his position. What should the penalty be?
We should crush your economy because we're next. Why can't...
Nice. I think it's crazy. Rules-based order is like so gone, you know? We're arriving now at a point where we're not only ignoring the international rules we help establish, but we're now threatening our allied nations if they enforce the international rules that we set up with them, like ICC compliance, definition of a war criminal, so on and so forth. It's against our own interests. It's a perfect example of how the most powerful people in this country, their interests are not the same as the interests of the countries altogether. The interest of people in America would be for peace, prosperity, and, you know, an alliance with all else in the world, to get along with everyone, no war. The military-industrial complex, on the other hand, needs permanent conflict to justify the ever-inflating Pentagon budget. So you have paid stooges like Lindsey Graham who are saying, like, actually, we will wage economic war on Canada, our neighbor and our ally, if they follow their obligation to the ICC and arrest the war criminal Netanyahu for the genocide of Palestinians if he steps on their territory. Like, we will burn a bridge with our neighboring allied nation if it means protecting the monster who leads a Middle Eastern nation, you know, 10,000 miles away that is actively worsening the world, carrying out a genocide, and doesn't listen to anything we tell them to do. Like, they're not our ally in any meaningful sense. Why? MIC, baby. We trade massively or significantly with Canada, Sofigo. They're, like, obviously one of our largest trading partners. It would be ruinous for us as well to do this. But again, Lindsey Graham doesn't care how well the country does. He cares about how well his sponsors in the MIC do. And even if our economy hurts, that just means we take on more debt. Anything to fulfill our ever-inflating Pentagon budget. 60% of oil imports. Well, they are right there, so it makes sense. Crude oil imports, yeah. Because we have the refineries to refine their crude oil. They drill it up there, they send it down here for the refining. It's insane they want to sanction every ally over one. MIC sells weapons to nearly every U.S. ally, and if we're this happy to sanction them, who's to say they wouldn't go to France or Germany? Because, well, what do you mean go to France and Germany? Like outside of the U.S.? Keep in mind that the decisions made to protect the interests of the MIC aren't necessarily rational. Like, Lindsey Graham has spent an entire life getting paid a lot of money being told what line to toe. He might not be getting told, like, how far he should be towing it, if that makes any sense. I wonder if this gives, like, I don't know, Trump supporting neo-Nazis any pause. Like, if you are critical of Israel and a Republican, which a lot of young Republicans are, there are plenty of you who are like Netanyahu cocksuckers, but there are a lot of you who are, well, either because you're neo-Nazis, which a significant portion of neo-Nazis vote for Trump. A lot of them, I assume, don't vote, but those who vote, I don't think they were voting for Kamala. The possible exception of Richard Spencer, because he's a contrarian weirdo. Or if you're just generally critical of Israel's warmongering and, you know, genocidal behavior. I don't think you care about the lives of Arabs, but, you know, there's something to it, right? Why the fuck do Republicans act like this? You have to be wondering. You have to be thinking in the back of your head, like, there is some impetus, there is some pull. Even Tucker Carlson was talking about this. I mean, he flirts with far-right rhetoric, and by flirts with, I mean is married to. Where I don't remember which Nazi he had on, but he was talking about, like, how every Republican has an AIPAC handler, you know? Which, to an extent, that's true. It just has nothing to do with Jews. The AIPAC handler is just their line to, like, a massive union of interests that extend way beyond Israel. But, like, how do you not look at this and think, hey, maybe Republicans are a bit less interested in America first than I thought they were? Trump is fully in on this too. It's not like Trump is deviated from this, right? He's been one of the most active, like, boot-kissing supporters of Netanyahu of all. He's incredibly loud about it. I visited r/conservative, and they do sometimes ask questions like these, but they can't figure it out, and they're just confused. Yeah, no, genuinely, this does happen. A lot of them can't reconcile these differences, and they're too far in the cult, so they get told, like, don't think about it. It's kind of like the crypto scams, where there are a lot of really obvious questions that you could ask, like if you're hesitant about crypto, or you think, you know, like, hey, why is it that it's considered like bad or frowned upon to ask about the well-being or health of the coin that we're, you know, investing in? Why does everyone say GM all the time, even when it's not morning, you know? Why are people doing this? And you get told to shut the fuck up. It's kind of like that. I genuinely think there are a lot of Republicans who could benefit substantially from like a slightly different perspective on this. They are taught not to think, but you have to think to live. So I do think there's a line. Why are Republicans so loyal to Israel? There are, majority of Democrats are as well, but there is a pretty big difference in how loyal they are, aren't they? If we assume that loyalty to Israel is more about loyalty to a broad coalition of military and industrial interests, which it is. The Democrats are bought in on it pretty heavily, but not as much as Trump, not as much as the Republicans. And there are Democrats who don't go along with it. People like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, who seem to authentically deviate. If you're anti-Israel, or at least pro-peace, aren't you curious why people like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib are so openly critical of Netanyahu when no one else in American government is willing to? What distinction, what political, I guess, difference prompts them to be the lone voices of reason in a sea of people who otherwise just uniformly push their position? My father is totally on the whole Israel is critical to protect for Christian apocalypse reasons. Very America first. Also, it should be noted, the whole doomsday cult rapture prophesizing, where the Israelites need to once again hold, like, you know, historical Israel, that's an evangelical thing. There are a lot of Catholics who support Donald Trump. They aren't really the line on that. Of course, your average American tradcath is basically just an evangelical who says Deus Vult and likes Crusader peepo memes. So yeah, your Catholic grandmother isn't a tradcath convert, Socialist Gutnut. They're not in the category. No need for that weird prophecy to support Israel. Just your standard colonialist mindset is enough to get people to support Israel. Actually, wrong. The average Republican, or the average Zionist, the average person who is defending Israel or votes in favor of Israel or whatever the fuck, they do not think of this as a colonial project at all. In fact, all the framing outside of Israel is pushing against that narrative. The idea that Israel is, or like Jews are the only ones with the right to be there at all because of, you know, 4,000 years ago, they were the true indigenous people, not the people who lived there like 100 years ago, whatever. And they're defending themselves against Islamic terror, right? But the idea that it's an active settler colonial project, that propaganda is only done within Israel, you know? That is definitely true, intelligent donkey. Though I do think you can pull at the strings of your average Trump supporters' belief in America first a little bit by talking about stuff like this, you know what I mean?